Welcome back to Media Week. Our co-host James Manning, the editor and publisher of Media Week, also joining us in the studio. Hello, I'm Dan Murphy. Fairfax Media reporting a 2 to 3% rise in revenue compared to a year ago, but says metro print advertising markets remain challenging. In the Metro Media division, which includes online property website Domain, revenue was up 10% for the first half. But it was offset by a 9% fall in publishing revenue. Chief Executive Greg Hywood has told shareholders at the company's AGM that with print advertising continuing to show weakness in the first half, additional cost reductions across the business have been necessary. News Corp could be set to acquire Sky News Australia before Christmas as negotiations with shareholders make progress. News Corp is understood to be undertaking high-level due diligence as part of its bid to buy the pay TV news service, with the process expected to be completed within a month. Sky's parent company, Australian News Channel, is a joint venture between Britain Sky, Nine Entertainment Co and Seven West Media. Australian News Channel is the owner of Sky News Business. A weak summer film season has taken its toll on 21st Century Fox, with first quarter revenue missing analysts' expectations. The higher exchange rate hit international revenue, which fell by $200 million. Cable TV posted higher earnings, but the film division proved a major drag. North American box office sales were down over 50% on year, with superhero film Fantastic Four flopping. For more, let's return to James Manning. And James, first and foremost, 21st Century Fox earnings taking a bit of a hit. What's it telling you about, I guess, the direction of the business going forward?
Yeah, it tells you they're very dependent on those cinema releases, you know, and it's a really hard thing to get right. You get a run of a few hit movies and it just affects their numbers big time. Cable TV's been a long time good performance, still doing very well. And interesting, the younger Murdochs again on the earnings call this week. And Lachlan saying, look, you know, we've got to be a bit of a disruptor. We can't let people come in and take our traditional audiences. So he's really pushing for some, you know, change, and we should be trying out new things and getting out there amongst it.
The other interesting story this week, we saw the Fairfax AGM. It's also interesting to watch this media business transition away from some of those more traditional drivers of growth like the publishing arm and really start to focus on new drivers, new revenue like the Domain space. Yeah,
that Domain, I think their events business, we've just seen I think Good Food Month's on in Melbourne at the moment. It was on in Sydney last month. So they're getting into that event space. That's starting to generate some revenues. Still not replacing probably what they're losing through print, but the new readership figures out this week show, look, there's at 11.8 million Australians reading newspaper digital media. So when they can start to monetise that and it's starting to build those revenues, you know, they've got a business still.
The other really interesting, I guess, TV rights deal of the week, Optus clinching the EPL rights for 3 years, paying over double what Fox Sports was going to get it for. No doubt there's probably some concern at Fox Sports about that.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? That's why we said to Brian Walsh, you know, how watertight are those contracts, you know, because at the moment Fox Sports doesn't have a deal yet for the rugby league. We expect they will come to some arrangement, but without that and without English Premier League, and that's going to be 3 years, at least they'll be without that, you know, it leaves a big hole in their schedule. What will Optus do with those rights? We think it's going to be a subscriber play, so get more broadband customers, more mobile customers, you know, home phone people, get them on those bundles, which Optus seem to be pricing very keenly. You know, they've got unlimited downloads, which is very attractive to the demo who's attracted by sports rights, because they all like their digital technology and they like that carrot of having those unlimited. So we think the games, a lot of people, okay, you can watch it on your tablets and your smartphones, but a lot of those people will want to watch on the big screen, and we expect that opportunity will come through Fetch TV, who Optus have very close links to.
Yeah, it's really interesting as well, because you probably, on first impressions, assume that Optus doesn't have a platform for it, but with that connection to Fetch and also the advantages that the deal would have for the Optus data business. Can you imagine all of those people watching EPL on their mobile phones, consuming that data? It's great for Optus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be data-free too as another come-on for those people. So, you know, there's a lot of incentive. And those numbers, they get big audiences. Sure, it's late. There's nothing ever on before, you know, 10, 11 p.m. at night. And the games are all over by daybreak, really. But there's a big pent-up demand for that, and especially for catch-up services to people to watch those games when they want to. Yeah, big audiences.
Interesting news in the executive space this week as well. David Gyngell ready to stand down with the expectation that Hugh Marks will take over the role. Ginge may be set to keep a board seat though.
You'd sort of hope so for the sake of the business, wouldn't you? Because he's, it's his second time as a chief executive there, and it's really a massive turnaround in the business. They surmounted all their massive debt problems they had. They've come up with some good content. They've been very competitive in the ratings. They've diversified. They've sold off some stuff. So it's really been a successful few years there. But you can understand why he's feeling like, oh, look, maybe my work here is done. But they would like, I'm sure, to keep some link with him. We're just waiting, and we're expecting, some announcement very soon officially about what will be happening. Is Hugh Marks a good choice? He certainly doesn't have maybe the programming skills and the sense of audience that David Gyngell had for the business, something like David Leckie used to have in his years at 9 and 7. He seemed to have a real understanding of what the audience want, but then Hugh Marks has got good people in TV to give him some of those smarts if he is lacking in that area.
Absolutely, a big figure in the Australian television landscape. Let's have a look over the other side of the fence as well, particularly a focus on 7. Plus 7 launching this week, clocking up a record number of concurrent stream watching with one event. That was interesting to see the launch and I guess the success of it. Something we were speaking with Brian as well.
Yeah, look, Melbourne Cup Day was a bit of a no-brainer. If you're going to launch a streaming server, let's do it on the day of the the single most looked at piece of sporting content in a short period of time. What's a 3 or 4 minute race? 300,000 concurrent streams they had, which set a new Australian record, which is pretty good. But at the same time, the numbers for the free-to-air broadcast were down. It was the lowest audience in 15 years for watching, and if you like, the traditional way of viewing the race. So we're seeing that changing landscape there. So if 7 can, look after some of those audience who are no longer going to the traditional TV, get them on these mobile connected devices, they're playing in the right space. But 7's gone big time into that live streaming. They're definitely getting into that space first. 9 is going to get in there, but not straight away. They'll be there sometime in 2016, while 10 and the others are still sort of feeling their way around. Do we need to be there?
It's interesting as well. As I understand it, that streaming service isn't geo-blocked either, so the same content available to every Australian in every state. It's quite a significant development.
It is, yeah, but they will be served separate ads, I think, in different markets. But and again, it's more pressure on those media laws, saying this whole 2 out of 3 thing and the reach rule. It just really, it really shines a light on how unnecessary they are.
Wanted to ask you about something else that was in the news this week. The Netflix boss really clarifying that they have no interest in investing in news programs. I guess welcome news to the free-to-air networks, I guess you could say. But one of the things that he said was, why invest in things that are dying? But it's strange, we still see 60 Minutes pull fantastic numbers for a Sunday night on 9. News still rates.
Yeah, it does, but I guess he's thinking about audience growth and stuff like that, and he thinks, it's not really in their business model at all, There was a reference earlier this year from some of their executives saying, look, maybe we might get into that new space, but he's really put the blocker on that and said, no, look, it's not really on our radar at all. There's plenty of other things we're doing very well in, that premium drama, documentaries, all that sort of stuff, children's programming. So they've just got a lot of good work to do there, I think, before they need to worry about anything else.
All right, change of pace. Let's take a look at the ratings for week 44 for free-to-air. Kicking us off, top of the list, The Block.
Yeah, The Block. Look, it's getting down to the pointy end of the business on this season of The Block. There's only going to be 1 block next year. They've done 2 every year for the last few years, so a bit of a programming change there at 9.
Turning the page, let's have a look at the top 10 subscription TV ratings for week 44. Again.
Yeah, look, Rugby World Cup doing very well. A Place to Call Home, which Brian Walsh was talking about earlier, pulling huge numbers for Foxtel, so that premium content's still a big draw.
Gogglebox there as well, number 4, which is particularly interesting.
No EPL in that top 10, but it wasn't far off this week. It was up there. It was in the top 20.
Yeah. James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. I'm Dan Murphy from the team here. Thanks for your company.